evidence.
We interrupt that report from Marlene Trotter. Let's go live to Sue Scambatti outside the courthouse. Sue?
Yes, Mike, I can tell you that the jury has returned a verdict of guilty as charged on all 9 counts for Paul Bernardo. First-degree murder, 2 counts, 2 counts of kidnapping, 2 counts of forcible confinement, 2 counts of aggravated sexual assault, and 1 count of offering an indignity to a dead body. This has just happened. Bernardo has been found guilty on all charges. It took the jury some 6 hours to reach that verdict. Inside the courtroom, both mothers of the victims were weeping. I'm sure it was a very emotional time. Bernardo apparently stood very stiffly in the prisoner's box and had no reaction. And that's the latest that we can bring you here. Bernardo guilty. This trial is finally over.
So if we can just look ahead, when would sentencing take place?
Well, it may be complicated. This is a possibility, and I say it's only a possibility.
Right.
The conviction of first-degree murder carries an automatic sentence of life with eligibility for parole in 25 years. Now, of course, Bernardo has been convicted on all the other charges. There was no dispute, really, about all the other charges. So what may happen, Bernardo's lawyer has said that if he was convicted of first-degree murder, he would appeal that conviction. So what may happen is there will be a separate sentencing hearing on those other charges, but that remains to be seen. But the conviction of first degree carries an automatic sentence of life.
So just for the benefit of viewers who may now be tuning in, can you repeat what the verdict was and what it entails, please, just one more time?
Well, the verdict was guilty on all 9 charges. Bernardo had faced 2 counts of first degree murder, 2 counts of kidnapping, 2 counts of forcible confinement, 2 counts of aggravated sexual assault, and 1 count of offering an indignity to a human body, and that concerns the dismemberment of Leslie Mahaffy. The 2 victims in this case, 15-year-old Kristen French of St. Catharines, 14-year-old Leslie Mahaffy of Burlington, and a very emotional time up in the courtroom for the victims' families, of course. Both of the girls' mothers were weeping as the verdict came down.
Okay, thank you again very much, Sue.
Thank you.
Sue Scambatti reporting live where you just heard Paul Bernardo has been found guilty on all 9 counts, including 2 counts of first-degree murder. And of course, we will have more on the Bernardo trial, the most famous or most publicized murder case in Canadian judicial history. And we will have more on that from Sue at 5:30 on First News.
They will make their statement. They will not be taking questions, but they will make their statements, and we hope, and they've asked me to ask you to respect their wishes not to accept questions at this time. It is their expectation and intention to take questions and discuss this in more detail at a time that emotionally they're in a position to do so. So now I'll call on Dan Mahaffy to make a statement, but I do want you to appreciate that they will not be taking questions.
What about the French family?
And the French family is the same. Doug French will be talking for them. Dan? Excuse me. Oops. Come on, guys. Please give them space. Please give them space. Okay. Can you please give them space or else this won't happen?
This is Dan Mahaffy.
Come on, man. Back up, back up. Back up, guys.
This is Mahaffy coming as well?
No. Coming up? Okay.
Let Ryan and...
Come on, guys, back up. Back up. Who's back?
It's covered.
Back. Are you guys back? This is our statement, our few comments. We feel it would be inappropriate and impossible to speak how we feel at this moment. The intensity of the overwhelming pain and strong emotions have once again swept us and rendering it impossible for us to adequately talk about the verdict, the death of Leslie, and what this moment really means to us. Only the trial is over. Leslie is still not coming home. We are confident that the dialogue and analysis of this case will continue for some time, and we would be willing and better able to communicate in a safe, comfortable, and mutually beneficial setting. Our feelings and further comments would be trivialized by talking to a scrum of reporters, submitting to sidewalk interviews, and photographers running every which way. We certainly hope our thoughts, feelings, and comments at a later date will be of value to others in the public, and especially to many other victims named and recognized, and especially those who suffer their victimizations in silence in Ontario and all across Canada. We, Deb, Ryan, and myself, have been through hell during the past 4 years and know that there are many more months and years ahead of us. To you, the individual reporters and photographers, we want you to know that we recognize and greatly appreciate how many of you have demonstrated respect, restraint, empathy as you have sat in the courtroom each day with us. We have felt your acknowledgement of our need to be able to try and control and preserve not only Leslie's dignity and rights, but ours as well. We would be remiss if we did not thank Heather and Steve for establishing an acceptable and beneficial arrangement to enable us to make the many long walks to and from the hotel to the courthouse each day without being molested by reporters and photographers. We would also like to take the opportunity to thank our many friends, acquaintances, and strangers near and far across Canada who have sent their support to us. Each and every thought, wish, and prayer for strength and recovery has surely made this horrendous nightmare of having Leslie stolen from us a little easier to bear. Thank you. I'm sure our paths will cross again, and in a more balanced and dialogue will ensue. Thank you.
That was Leslie Mahaffy's father, Dan, speaking to the media on behalf of the families after the verdict of Paul Bernardo being found guilty. And beside him was Ryan, Leslie's brother, who was 9 at the time of her death, and Leslie spoke about him. We hear her pleading to see them on video, and now here's Mr. French.
A difficult and painful time. Finally today, with the guilty verdict, especially the guilty verdict for first-degree murder of our daughter, there is some sort of closure. Well, it can't return our daughter to us. We have the satisfaction of seeing this perpetrator punished. One of the questions asked most often of Don and I and the other members of our family over past years, and especially the last 4 months, has been, how can you deal with this? One of the major reasons has been the incredible support we have received from all of you. We want to thank our families and friends, the task force, court officials, the Crown, our lawyer, the Colony Hotel, Caveat, and especially all the people throughout Canada and the U.S., like all of you people, who have prayed for us and supported us in so many ways. We would also like to thank the media for their consideration during this very stressful and hard time. Now we would appreciate the opportunity to have some privacy for a period of time to come to terms with our feelings. After a time of reflection, we will be willing to speak to you all further. Finally, and as always, our final words for our daughter. With the trial over, Christy, you can't be hurt anymore. We love you.
Now? There's Darren French there hugging his mother. That's Kristen's older brother. He's 2 years older than Kristen French. We've heard from Dan Mahaffy, and standing beside him was Leslie's little brother Ryan, and we've heard from Doug French, Kristen French's father. There's a quote from John Steinbeck that says, "There are those among us who live in rooms of experience you and I cannot enter," and that certainly applies to these people. I'm sure we will be hearing from the lawyers as well shortly, the Crown Prosecutor Ray Houlihan and defense lawyer John Rosen. But now let's go back to the studio.
Okay, thank you very much, Sue. The very emotional scene outside the courthouse in downtown Toronto. That was Sue Scambatti, of course, as she has throughout this trial, reporting live for Global News. We are now going to return live to the scene outside the courthouse in downtown Toronto, where about 45 minutes ago, the jury in the Paul Bernardo murder case rendered its verdict of guilty on all 9 counts. Sue Scambatti is standing by live there now, Sue. We are still waiting word. We heard from the families, the Mahaffy and French families. We're still waiting word from 2 of the other principals in that case, Prosecutor Houlihan and Defense Attorney Rosen, correct?
That's right. They have yet to come out to the Unimics. The families just spoke a few short minutes ago, and extremely emotional. Many reporters weeping as they heard the words from the people so directly, deeply affected by these crimes, Mike.
Let's backtrack again for just a few moments, if we can, Sue, and go inside the courthouse at that moment when the jury foreman announced the decision, and what the atmosphere was like, the response, or at least the visible reaction by Bernardo. Can we go back inside the courthouse?
Certainly, no visible reaction from Bernardo. He seemingly did not bat an eye when this verdict came down. Guilty on all 9 charges, including 2 of first-degree murder. The jury foreman spoke in a clear, very calm voice. The jury appeared to be satisfied with the verdict. No emotion from the jurors. They have managed to remain stoic throughout all the horrific evidence at this trial, and seemingly maintained a relatively good humor and a stiff upper lip. The victims' families, Mrs. French, Mrs. Mahaffy, began to weep as the verdict was read out, as did the Homolka family. Carla Homolka's parents and sister Lori were here today. They just left the courthouse a few minutes ago. I don't believe that they spoke to the media, Mike.
This has been an incredibly emotional ordeal for everyone associated with the case, but of course, for none more so than the families involved. And you mentioned earlier in a report, Sue, that before this trial began, as I understand it, the Bernardo defense team was prepared to plead guilty to second-degree murder.
Yes, that's correct. Bernardo had made the offer through his lawyers, and I believe the thrust of it was to spare the victims' families the agony of having those videotapes played in court. And of course, that outraged the families. They viewed Bernardo as using his videos as a bargaining chip to get that sentence, which is less than the first degree, which he was convicted today.
Okay, Sue, thank you very much. We'll be rejoining you a little bit later on, as soon as Houlihan and Rosen, the 2 legal principals, come out to make statements regarding today's verdict. Loretta.
Mike, now we're going to go back live to Marlene Trotter, who is in St. Catharines, the scene of the murders of Leslie Mahaffy and Kristen French, for some reaction. Marlene?
Well, as you can imagine, Loretta, there's a tremendous sense of relief in this community. We had people coming up to us on the street. One lady said she had goosebumps when she heard that the verdict was first degree. And the people that we talked to feel this jury came back with the right verdict.
I'm glad. I hope they hang him. Well, he's a sick pig, and I don't think he can correct or rehabilitate somebody like that. I think the only way to get rid of him is to kill him, to deal with him, you know?
I think it's great, if there's such a word. I haven't been following the case that much, though, because it's kind of a sickening sort of a thing, so I try not to follow it because it makes me sick, and I try not to think about it, actually.
I think that's wonderful. Very happy indeed. He got what he deserved, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I was glad to see him convicted. I think he did a lot of nasty things to those girls, and he really deserved what he got. He's a real rotten guy.
As you can see, there's still a lot of anger in this community. People are wondering if they'll ever get over it, if they can ever forget it. But at least this final chapter is now over. Back to the studio.